What is going on, Governor? Chisgule here, and today we're going to talk about farm or mini accounts. That's where you create a second account in the same kingdom that gathers resources and sends them to your main account. If you like videos where we give you advice on how to get maximum value in Rise of Kingdoms, including free-to-play value, which is what we do here in this video, then you should definitely like and subscribe because that's a thing we spend a lot of time focused on, and we are a sponsored creator with Rise of Kingdoms. So why would you spend a bunch of time creating an account that's a farm or a mini, as I've described it? Because look, how long does it take you to send out gatherers? 60 seconds to go find some nodes, you send your commanders, then they go gather resources. So if you can check into your main account and a mini account, it's not that much extra effort, and you're basically doubling your resource gain, almost. The challenge is that then you have to transfer them over from your farm account to your main account, and that has a cost to it. So in this video, we're going to talk about a lot of things. We're going to talk about how much you would invest into a farm account. We're going to talk about the city hall level associated with that, the commanders you would choose, the buildings you need to focus on, how much tech you want, how much science you want to invest in, if you should be spending money on this style of account, where and when and how to transfer the resources, ways to protect the account from being attacked, and also how you play this account during events, because it actually changes. And we've done some interesting things during, for instance, this troop training event for KVK right now. I mean, my mini picked up a cool, I think 1.2 just in troop training, which is good for the health of the kingdom. So the most important defining factor, really, for how much effort and energy you want to put into a farm or mini account is how often you think you're really going to be using it. If you're going to be using it more, then more investment is warranted. If you're going to use it less and you don't play as much, then less investment is warranted. And what we're really talking about here is the number of gatherers you can send. It's all about the gatherers. Now, if you want to watch one of my other videos where we totally max out how you get extreme value from gathering and city production, I've got a playlist in my channel. I'll put a card up in the top for the playlist for both maxing your city production and the value you get there, maximizing your value from gathering. That's all stuff we can talk about, and we've talked about in a separate video. The thing that is really crucial for a mini account, since you are only powering it up so much, is just how much do you power it up? And the question is, how many gathering queues do you want? The troop dispatch queue at City Hall 11 goes from 2 to 3. And that is the lowest level of investment I would recommend, is to get to City Hall 11. From there, you could go all the way up to City Hall 17. That gets you a 4th gatherer. And then you could go all the way up to City Hall 22, which gives you not only a 5th gatherer, but you also can unlock sweet, sweet T4 troops. And we'll talk about why you might or might not want to do that. Now, we've gone all the way up to City Hall 22 because, look, we play a lot, and it doesn't take that much more effort to send one additional gatherer, and we're actually going to get a lot of value from that. So we've gone all the way up to City Hall 22. A lot of folks don't go that far, and they stick at just City Hall 11, and that's a totally fine choice. Now, the amount that you level up your City Hall is going to determine how much you can level up your other buildings as well, and there's some pretty significant implications. There's some buildings we need to talk about that are very important. First, easiest building to be thinking about and evaluating is the city production buildings. It's my opinion that you should level these up to the max level of your city hall. Get as much value from this account as you possibly can. It only takes a couple months to get your investment paid back in terms of the amount of resources it takes to have built these buildings in the first place. So they're worth building because this is a thing worth sort of having for a long-term investment in the game. And that is, by the way, an interesting thing that I didn't touch on at the start that I sort of wish I had, which is that I wish I had created this mini account very, very early in my playing Rise of Kingdoms. I created it only like a month or two ago, maybe 2 months ago. Gosh, maybe it is longer than 2 months ago. Okay, 4 months ago. But I've been playing this game for a while. Right when I created my main account, I probably should have had a mini going. Anyways, the other buildings we need to talk about include the trading post. Now, the trading post is relevant because when you send resources from your mini or farm to your main, there's a cost, and that cost is the tax rate for sending the resources. The higher level the trading post, the lower that tax gets, and the more resources you can send in a single run, so it takes less time to be sending those resources. We currently are at level 20. We actually could take it up to 22, but we haven't yet because we'd have to level up our gold mines, and they start to get really, really expensive. We'll probably get to it soon-ish. We're not quite there yet. Another very important building for a mini account is your hospital capacity. And the hospital capacity is crucial depending on the nature of your kingdom. In our kingdom, we've got a no city hitting rule now. Besides the fact that like most people in the kingdom know that I gem the kingdom buffs from this account, so like it'd be really silly to attack it. But we have a no city hitting rule because so many people are migrating into the kingdom. We don't want anyone to get confused about who's where, what's happening, especially during the kill events. So we have a no city hitting rule, which means hospital capacity for me actually is not all that important right now. But if you're in a kingdom where during kill events cities can be attacked, or someone might attack your farm, or you're just worried someone's going to go rogue and do something against the kingdom's rules because they can, having a higher hospital capacity is relevant because it means that fewer of your troops are going to die. Fewer of your troops are going to die. My capacity right now is 207,000. I mean, I can operate this account on 207,000 troops, doing still a bunch of farming. I happen to have more troops than that. One other building that's worth, I guess, talking about only a little bit is the storehouse. The higher your storehouse is, the more protected your resources are, and this brings us to the next topic. The next topic I wanted to talk about is how you transfer those resources over, a couple techniques for that, and also how you protect your city from being raided. One way that you protect your city is by not having lots of resources on your mini. Nothing looks more delicious during a kill event than an account that's like a City Hall 11 with 20 million plus of each resource. I mean, that account is probably getting attacked even if the kingdom rule is not to do it, right? Like somebody's going to break the rule because it just looks too darn good. So my recommendation is that you transfer these resources pretty regularly, pretty frequently from your mini or farm to your main. You often do that by joining the same alliance as your main or having your main leave your primary alliance and join a farming alliance. My farm happens to be in the Legion main alliance, again, because I'm gemming kingdom buffs. So a part of why it's good that I'm here is that I get all the alliance chests that come in, and like, man, there's just so darn many of them. So that gives me a little more gems to be working with. But also I need to be able to like very rapidly swap between the two. So my mini's in the main Legion Alliance. For most folks, that's not the case. You just teleport over to wherever your main is, and you're good to go. Some folks want to attack the mini to gather the resources from it to attack the farm. So you could attack your own farm to transfer those resources. The problem with that is that there's a hidden plundering tax when you are looting from a city, and it's 30%. So the tax rate of, what are we at? 16% is way favorable to the plunder tax rate of 30%. And the way you would do that if you're going to attack your own city is to send your troops somewhere else so that you don't have a bunch of troops dying in that process. And if that's a thing you really think you're going to do, which I would advise against, then you should not be leveling up the watchtower for your mini because the watchtower is going to cause you to have some amount of deaths. Okay, so you should be frequently reducing the resources on your mini, sending them to your main so that people don't attack it. One way that you're going to be spending your resources on this account is in the academy on technology. Some amount of technology is really advantageous. The higher your city hall gets, the more tech you can work with, including tier of troop. Now, we've gone all the way up to T4 troops on our mini. We could go even further with tech here to make our troops stronger, but that's not really on plan for what we're doing because we're not really trying to do a lot of fighting. City Hall 23 is where we could go really gangbuster with that if we wanted. The military tech is honestly not all that important for a farm account. What really does matter is the economic tech, and I've taken this really, really far because I'm viewing it as a long-term investment in the game. The area where I've not invested resources into engineering, reducing building time because I'm not going to be doing that much more building pretty soon, and also mathematics, reducing research time because, like, it's not really a time-sensitive thing. It's not like we're getting to the big researches that are associated with T5. We're never going to get that far with this account. Plus, the economic research generally costs more resources and takes less time to go and do. So we've gone pretty far along with our tech here, and I plan to go further, quite frankly, with the economic tech. The gathering speed, super relevant, and accelerates the progress of the thing that I'm trying to do. Because I'm not going anywhere or not planning to anyways, there's value here for me. Now, the next topic that's really important, and we touched on this a little bit, is you can deter someone from attacking your city by moving your resources out. Another way you can deter someone from attacking your city is by moving your troops out. You could put your troops during a kill event into a neighboring alliance flag, dump them, all of them in there, and assuming that the enemy, someone who might attack you, doesn't have a flag connected to your farm alliance's flag, they can't hurt your troops, they can't die, you're not a juicy target with a bunch of T1s for someone to attack during a kill event. The other thing that you would want to think about is, what if my city gets attacked when I'm not at the helm? What if I'm not there? You can, if you want, invest some amount of effort and energy into a commander that can defend your city. I've only put some amount of energy into one commander to do that, and that's Sun Tzu. I figure a farm account is probably going to get swarmed, not rallied, so commanders that are good against swarms are really, really good for your mini account to defend. I would say optimally that would include Sun Tzu and Kusunoki. In this case, Lohar defaulted to be the backup because right now I've got Cao Cao as my backup. In fact, I'll go to my commanders over here. I've got Cao Cao as my backup because I figure I have his first skill maxed. I might swap that around at some point, but for now, that's the combination. With enough sculptures, I would expertise Kusunoki and make him the secondary. Another good runner-up choice would be Ulji Mundok, because Ulji Mundok is going to cause you to do a lot of extra damage when you're getting swarmed by virtue of Strike Back. The real, more important investment we need to be making in commanders is actually the gatherers themselves. Now, of course, I've referenced the playlist that I have about gathering, which includes gathering commanders, but the level that you want to get your gatherers up to and the build that you want to create looks like this. This is ultimately what you're hunting for. You want to max the gathering speed via superior tools, and in the beginning, you want to prioritize instead, the more the better. If you don't play the account as much, as you don't check in as much, then the gathering speed is not as important as much as the more the better is, where you're getting extra resources for having done it. Bonus points if you want to go all the way up to level 40, you can get to and from the nodes faster, which again only really matters if you're very aggressively playing your farm account. That's the build I would recommend. And we do need to talk about how you level up some of these commanders, how you unlock them, even in the first place. I personally, because my mini is in main Legion, gathered most of my experience from just joining rallies, which is good in some ways for the Alliance, especially during events that are related to the Alliance doing rallies. And also, I've really not done much barbarian killing with this account. It's honestly sort of embarrassing. So that's how I've gathered my experience tomes to sort of crank these commanders up. And I've still got some work to do. I could put more experience into Joan of Arc. I've actually got the tomes. I might do that after this. The number of gatherers you need to level up depends again on the level of your city hall. If you only have 3 marches, then the commanders you would want to level up, first and foremost, would be Centurion. Now, I know that might sound a little bit weird, but Centurion gives you a 10% gathering speed lift, and because they're an advanced commander, they're a whole heck of a lot easier to level up. From there, you'd probably want to be leveling up Sarka and Gaius Marius. The reason I didn't mention Constance is that you really want to be kind of careful with her and with all of your commanders when you're leveling them up. You want to max the gathering related skill. And I guess actually you could level up Constance. I take it back. The special skill she has is this 4th skill over here, which gives her even more gathering, even more resources on completion of gathering. And she's a tricky one to obtain. These commanders you're going to get from keys, but Constance you're going to get primarily from the expedition. You're going to get her primarily from the expedition using your expedition currency. Now you can see I've got over 130,000 expedition currency saved up, which is actually a whole heck of a lot. I am probably going to start spending it again. Initially, I spent it on those constant sculptures, getting to a point where I could first level her up because I've maxed the second skill, then getting to a point where I've maxed the fourth skill, and I haven't even bothered to max the load capacity skill because I don't know, it's not all that important. Another way that you can get the sculptures that you could use on constants, the blue universals, is from events. Events occasionally show up that are civilization based. There's one for each civilization where you can choose a bunch of different rewards. You get tokens for doing different things. And one of those reward choices is going to be the blue universal commander sculptures. I invested in a lot of those to get constants in a really good place as well. Now, we happen to have our Peacekeepers in a somewhat decent place. When the KVK Marauder event came around, we actually used our mini as well, burning a lot of action points. And, like, gosh, being in Main Legion with this mini, we have just accumulated way more action points than we'll probably ever be able to spend, because we just don't have the time to spend them all. But you can spend your action points on your mini and then use those for your main. So for instance, I ran a bunch of forts. I could pop these resource packs and then send the resources to my main, which is a thing I'll probably do at some point, and I have done in the past. I happen to have a lot of resource tokens on my mini because my mini is actually kind of a working account, quite frankly. I've got T4s and I can do work on kingdom-related events. With that said, the reason that tokens are important, and you want to actually have your resources in token form rather than being in your storehouse, is because they can be rated in your storehouse. They can be rated if they're just in your city in the upper right, as displayed here. So one way that we try to hide those resources, in addition to sending them off in the first place to our main account and spending them down, is that the courier station often lets you trade your resources for resource tokens. Now, right now, the cost for all of these is gems, but it is 100% every single time a value positive trade to turn your resources into resource tokens, because you usually get somewhere between 10 and 30% off. So you're just getting free resources. That said, I have so much gold, I do know what I'm going to do with it, but I haven't burned through it all yet. So I don't convert, for instance, food into gold tokens. That's not something that I think is particularly effective. Whew. We've covered a lot of ground. Few more things we want to hit on. One is, what the heck do you do with your speed ups on one of these accounts? What do you do with your speed ups? We've got a fair amount of speed ups, quite frankly, in particular because we're in Main Legion. Like, we get a lot of 60-minute speed ups, 3-hour speed ups, 8-hour speed ups. We burned an unbelievable number of speed ups and resources doing the troop training portion of the KVK event. And probably I'll burn through them again if there's ever a kingdom-related troop training event. I'll just go completely ham when we've got a kingdom buff rolling for that. You can use your speed ups a whole heck of a lot more liberally on a mini account because you don't have that big T5 goal way in the future where you need to be efficient with your speed ups. So for instance, what I really ought to do with some of these speed ups, if I wasn't planning on making a lot of troops, which I am, is to speed up my production buildings. Speed up the upgrading of my production buildings. Why is that? Because if my production buildings are higher level sooner, they're generating resources sooner. So it's kind of like converting speed ups into resources in a very weird and inefficient way. Really weird and inefficient way. Now, you might also consider spending money on a mini account to accelerate your progress. My recommendation, if you're going to do that, and what I personally have done because I'm gemming kingdom buffs, is the 30-day gem supply. Would I go further than the 30-day gem supply? Probably not. If you are, the thing that I would be hunting for is Minamoto. I purchased some amount of Minamoto to max the first skill because I wasn't just using this account for farming. I was also using it during the KVK Marauder killing event, and I wanted a 5th Peacekeeper, so I bought Minamoto to the point where I could max the first skill, and I can show you what that looks like. It's really nothing too fancy here, okay? And the talents we hunted for are value-related talents. Speed to save time, and then Trophy Hunter, and from here I almost don't care because it's my mini. I'll probably go over here, Burning Blood, and then Rejuvenate. You know the drill. Whew. Okay, we covered a lot of ground. How high do you level up your city hall? The commanders, the buildings, the science, the city defense, spending money, when to send your resources, how to hide your resources and protect your troops, when and how to use your expedition currency. One other note I'll add to that, I guess, is that I'm going to start investing in commanders I'm really sort of interested in. You could use your currency to buy resources here. It just feels like such a low value trade to me that I'm not going to do that. I'm actually would rather invest in some commanders to defend the city if for some reason I find myself in the situation where my city's getting attacked. Is there anything else that we should have talked about but didn't in this video about creating a farm account? If so, let me know down in the comments. I'd be eager for your thoughts. I guess I just thought of something as I was saying that, which is that one other thing you can do to get value with a farm account is that you can run around your kingdom using the exploration view, and I haven't even bothered to do it yet, but you can go and claim all of the different little villages and the goodies that come from that, and you can explore all the caves, which will include some amount of resources when you go and do that. I just haven't had the time for doing something like that. Probably should have done it on a really long flight, and I've been on a lot of those recently. Oh my gosh. And man, as the more I do this, the more there is to talk about. One final thing worth thinking about is the tier of troops you use. And if you keep training troops all the time or if you stop. I'm training troops constantly because I'm going to use them probably in war. However, for your average account, for your typical mini, you really only need tier 1 siege units. Tier 1 are faster anyways. Your city's going to be really weak, but you may not care about that all that much. The advantage of those tier 1 siege units, and I'll show this, is that they're faster. Let's look at stats here. That's not stats. Okay, we got to do it this way. Now we can look at stats. The lowest level moves very fast and has a load of 20. If you go up one level from there, you're not really getting that much more. They go fast, and the load is 22. So the load is not going to be all that important in the long term on your farming account. In the short term, it will be. Whew, okay. Now we've talked about everything I think I wanted to talk about. I probably missed something. Leave it in the comments. Thanks so much for watching this whole video. I've got a lot of stuff cooking up in terms of content. We need to make an El Cid video. We're way overdue for that. Gonna wait to do that on my main. Let me know what you thought of this video. Like, subscribe, and until next time, you have fun smashing the kingdom.